In these problems, we are being asked to multiply one matrix by another. There are some special rules about how to do that. They're a little bit tricky, but once you get used to them, they're not too tough. It's really just multiplication and addition. And there are also some rules about which matrices can multiply by other matrices depending on their dimensions. And we'll get to those in just a minute. In the case of this first problem, matrices that have the same dimensions, you can multiply those together and you don't have to worry about any special rules. So let's try this one first just to get the process down. We have two 2x2 matrices, so our product, our result here is also going to be a 2x2 matrix. And what we're going to do for each of the elements, we're going to take the rows of the first one and multiply by the columns of the second one. So in this case, we would start by multiplying the first row by the first column. And you can imagine taking this chunk and turning it sideways. So the 0 would line up with the 2 and the -5 would line up with the -7. So imagine bringing this over here like this. And we multiply and then add those products together. So it would be 2 times 0 plus -5 times -7. Of course, 2 times 0 is 0, and -5 times -7 is 35, positive 35. That's our answer for first row, first column. First row, first column is right here. That's where the 35 goes. Now the next element would be the first row, second column. So we take the first row of the first matrix and multiply it by the second column of the second matrix. And again, turn this sideways. The 0 would line up with the 4, the -5 with the -2. Again, 0 times 4 is 0. -5 times -2 is positive 10. Add those together, 10. Now if we want to find second row elements, we go down to the second row of the first matrix and repeat the process. We're going to multiply it by the first column first. That's -8 times 2 is -16, and -1 times -7 is positive 9. Positive 7. You add those together and you get -9. And then to find second row, second column, we'll take the second row, multiply it by the second column. -8 times 4 is -32. -1 times -2 is positive 2, so that's a -30. And that is our answer. That is these two matrices multiplied together. Let's look at another one. This one's a little bit different because the matrices are different dimensions. So this first one has 3 rows and 1 column. So we say it's a 3x1. And the one we're trying to multiply it by has 1 row and 3 columns. So if you line up the dimensions of the two matrices that you're trying to multiply like this, if you look at the inside dimensions and compare them, if they're the same, then they're compatible. You can multiply them. And these aren't. The ones are the same, so these two matrices can be multiplied. What the outside dimensions tell you is the dimensions of your result. So this is going to be a 3x3 matrix in the result. So let me show you how this one works. I think I'll steal a little bit of room up here. We're going to have a 3x3 matrix. Now, first row, first column, we'll take the first row of the first matrix and multiply it by the first column of the second matrix. So that would just be -5 times 1. There's nothing else to multiply, so that's it, -5. Then first row, second column is first row times second column. -5 times -2, positive 10. And then the third column, same, -5 times 0, 0. Now if we want to find our second row elements, we go down to the second row of the first matrix. 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times -2 is -2, and 1 times 0, 0. Third row of our answer, we go down to the third row of our first matrix. -1 times -1, -1 times 1, sorry, is -1. -1 times -2 is positive 2, and -1 times 0 is 0. And that's our answer. Let's try one more just to try to cement this knowledge. Now these matrices have different dimensions, so let's write them out. The first one is 2 rows by 3 columns, and the second one is 3 rows by 2 columns. So what this means is, they are indeed compatible, so we can multiply them. And our answer matrix is going to be 2x2. So we'll set that up, 2x2 matrix. And first row, first column is going to be first row here multiplied by first column there. So 0 times 1 is 0, 2 times 0 is 0, and 1 times 1 is 1. So that's 0 plus 0 plus 1. That's just 1. First row, second column is going to be first row times the second column here. 0 times negative 4 is 0. 2 times 1 is 2. And 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. So it's 0 plus 2 plus negative 1. That's just 1. Now let's find the second row here by taking the second row of our first matrix, and we'll multiply it by the first column. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Negative 1 times 0 is 0. And 0 times 1 is 0. So that's negative 3. And then second row, second column. Negative 3 times negative 4 is 12. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. And 0 times negative 1 is 0. So 12 plus a negative 1, 12 minus 1, that's 11. And there's our answer for that one. So that is how to multiply one matrix by another.